There is a place, not here or there, but somewhere in between. There is a space in the thin air that really can't be seen. If you listen and observe, you may be surprised. Some may call it Camelot or even paradise. Some may say you cross a bridge, others through a door. But all I know about this place is that I call it Evermore. Evermore. Hello, sweet spirits. Welcome to the show. My name is Suzanne Sorrell, and I'm the host of the Evermore Paranormal Network. On this episode, I'm going to talk to you about some of my early paranormal experiences. So let's begin. The first story begins in the 70s, in the 1970s. My mom and dad were going through a divorce, and my mom left my dad and got an apartment for the two of us in Annandale, Virginia. The only good thing about all this was that the apartment project had a pool, and I was excited to be able to go down there and swim. The problem was I didn't know how to swim, and my mom had to take me anytime I wanted to go swimming, or go to the pool, shall I say. She was always working as a single parent, and so I really couldn't go to the pool until I took a class and proved that I could swim. So my mom signed me up for the YMCA swimming course in Fairfax, and I went through the course. I knew that I wasn't doing well because the final was they threw us into the 10-foot to see if we'd sink or swim, and I sunk. So I knew that I wasn't going to pass. But as an 8-year-old, I was thinking maybe I'll pass. Maybe I'll slip through the cracks. Well, the report card comes, and I failed. But I swore to my mom that I could swim. I begged her, come down to the pool. I will show you. Because I wanted to swim. I wanted to go to that pool so bad. So I begged my mom to go. And I finally convinced her to go with me down to the pool. She never went before that day, and she never went after that day. Thank goodness she went that day. Otherwise, I wouldn't be telling you this story. We lived in that apartment 10 years after this incident. So we get down to the pool, and I go to the 4-foot ladder, and I climb down this 4-foot little ladder on the side of the pool, and I let go. I drift into the 5-foot of water. I'm only 2 feet away from the side of the pool, and not really that far under the water because I'm 8 years old, but I'm not quite 5 foot tall. So all of a sudden, I totally forget everything that I learned in the class. My mind went blank. I started flailing around in the water, and the only thing I could remember was the hand signal for drowning. So I'm stretching my arm up, and I can't remember right now what it is, actually, but I'm stretching my arm up to let the lifeguard know I'm drowning, but my mind wouldn't tell me how to swim. As I came up for air, I could see my mom reaching for me from the side of the pool with a distressed look on her face, screaming and yelling for the lifeguard to come help. Now, she couldn't jump in because she couldn't swim either. And she was very heavy set, and so it would have been 2 people that the lifeguard needed to save. So I went under the water many, many times, probably, I don't know, about a dozen times. Each time I came up, I'd see my mom, and I'd get a little bit of air, and then I'd be back under. Finally, the lifeguard saves me. But what I saw that day while going under changed my life. That day, I was 8 years old. I became an adult. Because what I saw while going under would scare anyone. It was a reel-to-reel movie in black and white. Like back in the day when I was a kid, that was a thrill to be able to watch a movie instead of listen to the lecture in class. It was a reel-to-reel movie. The frames were counting down from 10 to 1. I only remember them counting down to about 5. And in each frame, I saw my loved ones that were living, not deceased. My mom, my dad, my grandmas, my pets. Each frame, I was holding my mom, hugging her, smiling. It was joyful. Holding my dad, my pets. It was a very beautiful moment. Now I look back and I think that those were goodbyes. And the countdown was my heading out to the other side. The problem is, interspersed among the happy frames, of black and white happy frames, I saw the devil. The devil, as we know, the stereotypical devil in red with horns and a tail. He kept peeping in here and there amongst the happy frames of this movie of my life, my 8-year-old life. And I thought, why was he in my movie? Was I going to hell? Well, as an 8-year-old, I never told anybody this. I kept it to myself. I figured no one would believe me. I'd be crazy. You know, they'd send me off to an institute, or I'd even be punished maybe. So I kept it to myself. The problem is, that's not the last time that I saw the devil. He followed me home. And at age 8, and for 10 years that followed, he took residence in the mirror of my bedroom dresser. And so every time that I looked into the mirror, I would see him. And this was a constant thing. When I looked into the mirror, my face would morph into his. And it got to the point that I stopped looking in that mirror because it was the only mirror that was affected. He didn't show up in any of the other mirrors. I never told anybody this. And like I said, I figured people would think I was crazy. They wouldn't believe me. I'd even be punished. Oh, you're lying. I wondered, what had I done at 8 years old to be such a horrible kid that the devil was waiting for me from age 8 to 18, waiting for me in that mirror, waiting to take my soul. I wondered if when I was drowning and that there was a crack, a door was open to the other side, and this thing that was following me slipped into this realm. Why me, I thought. My only solution, since I couldn't tell anyone, I threw myself into church. I got close to God because I needed something and someone to protect me. And it did. It kept the devil at bay. Or at least I thought so. We'll be right back.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed.
I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it.
I just want my family to be safe.
But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
welcome back. I hope that story, people could relate to that story. If there's people that have had near-death experiences and saw things that they're afraid to talk about, that you're not alone. This happens a lot more frequently than you would think. So I'm going to tell you, like I wasn't haunted enough by the devil. Now I'm going to tell you about my first sighting of a ghost and how he followed me for 35 years. So back in April of 1979, my mom told me that her boyfriend Roy had cancer. And Roy lived with us at the apartment that I just told you about earlier. And they've been dating for about 5 years. My mom had had a horrible first marriage, and she did not want to get married again. So this is how they wanted to live. When she told me he had cancer, they said he had 5 different types of cancer. But back then, one type of cancer usually meant you were going to die. They couldn't tell where the cancer started. It had just pretty much spread over all of his major organs. And basically a week later, he was dead. I had gone next door to stay the overnight with a friend, and my mom and Roy were having just like a card party that night. When I came home the next day, the police were there. Nobody had let me in the apartment. And I'm like, I want to get in. And nobody let me in. Finally, my mom told me, Roy died. She said he died from the cancer, natural causes, and that he died on the way to the hospital. So at 14 years old, I'm like, you know, my mom's going to tell me the truth, and she's not going to lie, and I had no reason to not believe her. One night, about a month or so after he died, I woke up and I saw Roy's ghost in my bedroom. It was just his head and his face, but it was definitely him. And he was in the upper right corner of my room, and I laid there and watched as he went to the left corner of my room. I was frozen in fear. I wasn't able to move. I wasn't able to scream. I finally was able to get up, and I ran to my mom's room. I told her what happened. And I never went back to that room to sleep. So we were in this apartment another 4 years. All throughout high school, I slept with my mom in her room. Now, I'd go in my room during the day to study or to play, but at night, I wouldn't be in there, and I definitely wouldn't sleep in there. So soon after, I realized that Roy followed me to school. And I went to Annandale High School, by the way. Especially, he'd make himself known in the gym, in the locker room. I'd go to lunch, and then I'd go over. I had gym right after lunch, so I'd be like the first one and the only one in the locker room. What happens? The lockers start opening and slamming. The lights start flicking off and on, and you'd think, oh, somebody's just messing with me. That's how, you know, teenagers are. But nobody knew what I was going through in my home life except my mom. One day, soon after that, I came home from school, and my room was tore up. It was ransacked. It looked like a tornado hit it. But it was in a strange way. It was so weird, like things were totally neat, and then other stuff wasn't. Like, okay, a cyclone came through your room or tornado, and it messed up what it wanted to mess up, but it left everything else okay. I called my mom, and first thing I thought, somebody broke into our house and stole something. Nothing was ever gone. Mom said, check the windows, make sure that the windows are closed. Maybe, you know, it was windy and the stuff blew off the shelves. I'm like, windows are closed. So this scenario played out on numerous occasions over a period of time. Now I look back and I'm thinking, okay, must have been Roy or poltergeist activity or something of that nature. Back then I didn't know what a poltergeist was. And after a while, these weird ransacking incidents stopped. You think that would be done. You think that'll be over? Okay. Well, one night, I'm sleeping in the bed, and next to my mom, as like I said, I had to because I had nowhere else to go. I woke up, and Roy is, all I see is his face and his hands, and this is what he's looking like. Like, I always thought it meant help, but I don't know. Now I'm thinking, what does this mean? This went on for every few months for the next 35 years. Roy, I'd wake up. The whole time I was in the apartment, this was happening. And it continued as long as I was in the apartment. Now, after 4 years and graduated from high school, we moved to Fairfax. And at the next apartment, nothing happened. But we lived across from, shockingly, because we lived across the street from a funeral home and a cemetery, and nothing paranormal happened during that time that we were there. But it's also the fact that I was really busy in my life and going to several schools, working several jobs. I was engaged to my now husband. So it may be that I just didn't even sleep enough to anything to ever happen. But once I moved in with my husband, it started up again. And Roy started appearing again. I'd wake up, and instead of my husband, it would be Roy laying next to me again. Again, always looking at me with that same face. So this went on, like I said, for about 35 years. And in 2012, my mom was getting sick. And she wanted to tell me some stuff, get some stuff off her chest, some secrets that she kept to herself all these years. One day after a doctor's appointment,